This is Combat Mania on the Undetermined Podcast Network.
You are listening to Combat Mania, Cheap Seat Sports Production, part of the Undetermined Podcast Network. It's episode number 4. I'm Tom Albano. I want to apologize for the delay in this episode. I've been busy with life, and, life sucks sometimes. So, life got in the way of things between school and other responsibilities, but here I am. I am here for episode 4. We've got a lot to talk about. It's actually kind of a good thing that I had to wait, because we got actually a lot of stuff to talk about. We got stuff to not only recap, we got stuff to preview. We got a lot of big events this weekend, so nice little preview episode, and then in our next episode we'll actually have a nice recap of all the events going on and such. Little side note I'm going to start off with, UFC and Bellator I know are this weekend. Usually I do the little pre-show and stuff. I don't know if I'm going to do a Periscope pre-show for either of those, or Hell in a Cell for that matter. I might do Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell is most likely. But I'm not sure about Bellator or UFC. That depends on how my schedule is. I'm busy this weekend between not only school responsibilities, but it's actually my parents' anniversary, so I'm spending time with the family this weekend. But hey, we got a lot of stuff going on, and we'll talk about it all next week too. All the events going on. And before we begin, my sincerest thoughts and prayers go out to all of those affected, and unfortunately those who were injured and lost their lives with the shootings that happened in Las Vegas. It's seriously tragic that something like this had to happen again. Those of you who can, donate money to the victims. I'm sure there's charities and funds, relief efforts being set up for those victims, and if it's possible, donate blood. Seriously, a lot of people injured in this attack. I can't believe we got up to 500 people injured. That's devastating. That's tragic. It's absolutely tragic. It's absolutely horrific. It's like I can't even find the words to describe what is even going on in this country sometimes anymore. But I hope that within this hour we can put some of that stuff beside. Like, I was just watching the Chris Gethard show on True TV, and basically, it's like what he said, like, sometimes this world can bring us down. Sometimes the event of us left us feeling shocked, appalled, and just horrified. But hopefully we know that everything will be okay. Like, we might feel shitty today, but hopefully we can raise our spirits up and things will be okay in the end. So, my hearts and prayers go out to everyone in Vegas who was injured and killed. If anybody can do anything to help, whether it's donating blood, donating money, find a way to do it, please. And, let's get right into it. Let's get right into, start off with the MMA world for today. Alright, it's the big weekend. UFC 216 takes place this coming Saturday night, T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. And we've got an interesting card on our hands. We've got 2 title bouts. One is a world title bout, one is an interim title bout. We got a big heavyweight collision, and we got some cool fighters on this card. So let's talk about the card. Alright, main event. The interim lightweight championship is on the line. We are going to determine interim champion. It's Tony Ferguson taking on Kevin Lee. Basically, you can call this the Conor McGregor sweepstakes, because whoever wins is most likely fighting Conor McGregor, who is the current incumbent UFC lightweight champion within the coming months. So let's take a look at these 2 fighters that are competing in the main event. We got Tony Ferguson on one hand. Tony Ferguson, he was the winner of Season 13 of The Ultimate Fighter. He's currently ranked number 2, I think, in the rankings. Let me go to the UFC rankings and double check on that, but I believe he is number 2 or number 1 at lightweight. He is number 2. Khabib, for some reason, Khabib Nurmagomedov is, for some reason, still number 1. I don't think that's right. I think Tony Ferguson should be number 1. But it is what it is. And Khabib is number 1, Tony Ferguson is number 2, and Eddie Alvarez is number 3. It is what it is, so that's what it's going to be. So Ferguson has a record of 22-3. He is a big wrestler, big jiu-jitsu guy. He was a former welterweight. Now he's dropped to lightweight. So he actually has the longest winning streak right now in lightweight division history. He is on a 9-fight win streak right now. It's actually funny because he started 4-0, then he lost 1, then he won 3 fights in a row, and then he lost, and then after that he won it was 6 in a row, I think, 6 in a row, then lost, and now he's won 9 fights since. He hasn't lost 9 fights. He's picked up victories over the likes of Rafael Dos Anjos. That was his last fight, actually, which was last November. It was the fight of the night, defeating Rafael Dos Anjos by unanimous decision. It was pretty much, I don't know if I want to say, I don't want to say, it was domination, but you could tell. It was a good, hard fight, because both walked out with fight of the night, but it was one of those fights where you could still tell that Ferguson was clearly the winner. Before that, Ferguson has picked up victories over the likes of Edson Barboza, Josh Thompson, Abel Trujillo. One of his only losses was to Michael Johnson. So, and he actually has defeated kickboxing legend Joe Schilling early on in his career. So, I feel like Ferguson, as much as some might say, Ferguson hasn't fought the best of the best, I'd say he still has a couple of notable wins. And hey, he defeated the former UFC lightweight champion just last year. He defeated the former champion in his most recent bout. Of course, that title has basically, I don't want to say played hot potato, that's not the right word, but it did seem like it was playing hot potato. It looked like it was going to. So the ball went from Dos Anjos to Eddie Alvarez in July 2016. Then it went to Conor McGregor in November 2016, and then McGregor took the ball and ran off and went to fight Floyd Mayweather. Basically, that's how it is. Tony Ferguson actually was supposed to compete for this interim championship, this same interim championship last March, I think, at 209 against Khabib Nurmagomedov, but Khabib ended up getting sick and going to the hospital, some weight cut issue, I think about 24 to 48 hours before the fight. And it's like, as much as I'm anti-weight cutting, I think I've described this on this show before, but I'm not for weight cutting. I feel like you need to do what your body, what feels right for your body. That's what you should be competing at. And if that means you don't want to cut weight, don't. But if you really do want to cut weight, number 1, do it with supervision. Have somebody who can help you and train you right. And number 2, know the risks. But because you know the risks, you know the fucking responsibility. So, basically, I'm saying this. Khabib, if you want to get back in the conversation, because when they were talking about, who should fight Conor next, these two guys were mentioned because of this interim title fight. They've been talking about maybe a trilogy bout with Nate Diaz, which that would be something. But, I mean, if you're going to have the trilogy fight, at least put the title on the line and do it at lightweight. None of this 170 bullshit. You guys are lightweight fighters. You two should have the fight at lightweight. But even then, I mean, I still want to see McGregor take on other individuals. Because, even McGregor admitted, last week, he needs to defend the title. He needs his legacy. And that's the thing. Conor McGregor may go down as one of the greatest fighters in the history of the UFC. My problem, that I wouldn't put him as greatest of all time, or in that conversation, rather, he has to defend the title. You cannot call yourself the greatest of all time without defending your title. It's always easy, well, not easy, but it's all the hard work. You think it's absolutely hard work when you're chasing the target and you're chasing the champion, but when you have the title and now you are the hunted instead of the hunter, things are a lot different. Things become harder. Things become like, oh God, now I have to set my game up to make sure that, all these challengers coming at me and all this young blood rising, I can knock them down and say, no, fuck you, I'm still the best. Basically, that's the situation that Conor McGregor is finding himself in, and now he needs to defend that title. And I've agreed with Ferguson's stance when Ferguson has made comments in the past of, defend your title or vacate it. Because that's just how it is. And I mean, those of you who say Ferguson has beaten nobody, let's take a look at Kevin Lee's record. Kevin Lee is ranked number 7 right now. He is also, they both have, both Ferguson and Lee have experience in NCAA wrestling. Of course, Ferguson, what camp was Ferguson's? Oh, Ferguson came out of 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, Triunfo Jiu-Jitsu and MMA. He's a brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu under Eddie Bravo. Meanwhile, you got Kevin Lee, who comes out of Extreme Couture, who fights out of Las Vegas, in other words. So, even though he was born in Michigan, he's the Motown phenom, he actually resides and fights out of Las Vegas. So, maybe you can argue hometown advantage. Kevin Lee is 16-2. And, let's see, he has victories over, he lost to Al Iaquinta in his UFC debut. He has two Performance of the Night bonuses against Magomed Mustafaev back in last November, and his most recent bout against Michael Chiesa, at UFC Fight Night Chiesa versus Lee back in June. Of course, that was a very controversial fight. It was a technical submission win by Lee due to a rear naked choke, but apparently what Mike did was try to basically release everything in his body, but at that point he had stopped defending the choke and the referee thought he was out. So I guess I could see what was going on with Mario Yamasaki at that time. Mario Yamasaki was the referee for that fight, but at the same time, technically then it wasn't exactly a submission. He didn't exactly, quote, choke Mike out. So you can count that as a win on the records for Lee, but it's like he didn't exactly finish the other guy, if you get what I mean. He does have 8 wins by submission, so if you include that one. So I gotta give credit to his submission game. Lee's submission game is good. But he's also going up against Ferguson, who also is a wrestler and BJJ guy and knows how to work the ground. So this is going to be interesting to see. It's basically going to be, also Ferguson he also has 8 wins by submission, but 9 of his wins also come by knockout or TKO. So Ferguson also has finishing power, as in not tapping you out, but knocking you out. So basically, to me, this is going to come down to who can control the ground game more. And can Ferguson, use his stand-up game to... Because that's going to be a thing. Maybe Ferguson keeps the fight standing. That way he doesn't have... he doesn't take the chance to get Lee to the ground, and then it becomes a whole mess of, who gets control more and who gets more submissions kind of thing. So maybe if Ferguson keeps the fight standing, there's a chance that Ferguson could be walking out with the title. I think Ferguson's still going to be my prediction. I still think it's going to be Ferguson. And I actually am one of those who wants to see Tony Ferguson face off with Kevin Lee. Moving on now to the co-main event for the UFC Flyweight Championship, it's Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson defending against Ray Borg. Now, some people, of course, have been complaining, why is the interim title fight above the regular world title fight? Of course, this Demetrius Johnson-Ray Borg fight was scheduled for UFC 215 last month at, UFC 215, but Ray Borg, something happened where he felt ill, and so the match was postponed, and now here it is on UFC 216. So this is the co-main event now, and apparently Ray Borg has had some people have said that he has weight issues in the past, so maybe that's also why. Some people claim that Demetrius Johnson, can't draw when compared to guys like other guys who would be in the main event scene. So champions right now, like Conor McGregor, like Michael Bisping, Stipe Miocic, which I can understand as well. Although I look at Tony Ferguson and Kevin Lee and their past records, and while Ferguson has the one win over Rafael dos Anjos, I can't exactly, defend Johnson being co-main event, especially when there's a history-making. This is history-making. This can be history-making bout either way. Because on one hand, Demetrius Johnson could get sole possession of the most consecutive successful title defenses in UFC history, breaking Anderson Silva's record when Anderson Silva was a middleweight champion, or Ray Borg is going to shock the world. Basically, it doesn't matter who wins that fight, because that fight history is being made. But for the purposes of, our standard, let's go through and see what everyone's got. So, first we have Demetrius Johnson, who comes in with a record of 26-2, 10 wins by submission, 11 by decision. Of course, Demetrius Johnson also used to fight at bantamweight, I believe. But let's go through this thing. I mean, here's Demetrius Johnson's accomplishments. I can't believe I'm going to have to say these, but maybe there's a few MMA beginners who are just starting to get into MMA listening to this right now. So for those of you who need to know who Demetrius Johnson is, let me say this. He won a flyweight championship tournament back in, I think it was 2012-ish, to become the first ever UFC flyweight champion. And in fact, he is the current champion, and he is the only champion in history. He has the most successful title defenses in flyweight division history, most consecutive title defenses in flyweight division history with 10. As I said, that ties Anderson Silva's record when Anderson Silva was the middleweight champion. Demetrius Johnson has won fight of the night 2 times. He's won performance of the night 3 times. He's won submission of the night 1 time. He's won knockout of the night 1 time. He has the most wins in flyweight division history. He has the longest win streak in flyweight division history. He's only the second fighter ever in UFC to win the bonus payments in all 4 categories: the fight of the night, knockout of the night, performance of the night, submission of the night. Also, he's the 2017 Fighter of the Year at the ESPYs. Have I said enough? He's the man. I don't care if he's fighting in a lightweight class. I don't care if he's fighting in a weight class where there's little debt. He is the man. He has shown himself, because any of those guys could have beaten him. He could have, he fought Ian McCall twice. They went the distance twice, once a majority draw and once a unanimous decision in that flyweight tournament. Him and Joseph Benavidez have fought twice, and Benavidez split decision once, and then he defeated Benavidez by knockout once. But basically, Benavidez gave Johnson a run for his money. Could have been that fight. Could have been one of the John Dodson fights. Could have been Henry Cejudo. Oh, it could have been Tim Elliott. I thought Tim Elliott, after the first round or 2 of their fight, back at the Ultimate Fighter Tournament Champions finale in December, I thought Tim Elliott could have upset Demetrius Johnson. I thought we could have witnessed history there. But he rose above again. So, as much as you might write off Ray Borg, I don't want to discredit that from what Demetrius Johnson has done. Demetrius Johnson has done a hell of a lot for that sport, and it will never be taken away. Now, that being said, who does he defend against after Ray Borg if he successfully retains the title against Borg? That's a good question, because some have felt maybe Johnson should move up to bantamweight once again. And some have felt maybe TJ Dillashaw, should move down to flyweight and challenge Johnson. That match reportedly was scheduled to happen, but Johnson didn't want to do it. TJ Dillashaw actually is scheduled to fight for the UFC Bantamweight Championship against Cody No Love Garbrandt, I believe in November. It was either the co-main event or the third match on the event. I want to say the co-main event of UFC 217 at the Garden in early November. So that also should be an interesting fight. But if TJ Dillashaw loses to Cody Garbrandt, maybe you do make Demetrius Johnson versus TJ Dillashaw if Johnson defeats Borg this coming Saturday. And if Dillashaw loses to Garbrandt but puts up enough of a showing to show, hey, I can still be a champion. So maybe there's that too. Let's look at Ray Borg, though. Ray Borg is actually number 3 in the rankings. He's only had 13 fights compared to Demetrius Johnson's near 30 fights. Ray Borg, this is only going to be Borg's 14th professional fight. And his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, his 8th in the UFC. Just counting his UFC fights, Borg has a record of 5-2. He has defeated Louis Smolka. He's defeated Jussier Formiga. And he's defeated Chris Calades. His 2 losses come to Dustin Ortiz and Justin Scoggins, both decision losses. But they're right, when Borg does have a little history of missing weight. Borg missed weight against Gene Herrera, and he did miss weight against Louis Smolka, even though both of those fights were wins. So, actually some may have a point about Borg. And I mean, what if Borg ends up missing weight? As of the time that these words are coming out of my mouth, the weigh-ins haven't happened yet, so I don't know anything. But Borg, if he misses weight, what does that say? But so far I've heard nothing bad about any of the weight stuff. I've heard nothing about if anyone's on track to making weight or on track to miss weight. So that's that. That's all I know. And then, of course, we have a big heavyweight bout between Fabricio Werdum and Derek Lewis on this card as well. Fabricio Werdum, let's take a look at what he's been up to lately. I haven't really seen much from Fabricio Werdum as of late. Derek Lewis we'll get into. Alright, so let's just take a look here at Fabricio Werdum. Right now, I want to say he's ranked number... he's ranked number 2 right now in the UFC rankings. He's right now ranked number 5 pound for pound fighter in the world by Sherdog. And let's have a look at what he got. Last July, Fabricio Werdum lost by majority decision to Alistair Overeem. Back in September 16, he ended up defeating Travis Brown. And of course, it feels like these days everyone's defeating Travis Brown. But of course, Fabricio Werdum did win the heavyweight championship November 2014. Well, he won the interim title, then won the unified title in June of 15. And then his first defense ended up losing the title to Stipe Miocic. So, a little bit of a rocky thing going on right now with Stipe, we'll say. I mean, he did have a nice 6 fight winning streak before losing 2 of his last 3. He holds victories over, as I said, Travis Brown, Cain Velasquez, Mark Hunt. Actually has 2 victories over Travis Brown, Roy Nelson. He's defeated Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. He's defeated Antonio Bigfoot Silva. And of course, how can we forget? In Strikeforce, he had probably one of the biggest upsets in MMA history when he submitted Fedor Emelianenko in just 1 minute 9 seconds. So, of course, this is Fabricio Werdum we're talking about, so he's still one of the best fighters. There is one of the best heavyweights practically of all time he'll go down as, but, maybe he needs a win to get back on the right track here. And then, of course, we have Derek Lewis, who is, number 6? He's number 6. Okay, so no, he's number 6. Derek Lewis has been fighting in UFC since 2014. He holds victories over Travis Brown, Roy Nelson, Gabriel Gonzaga, Victor Pesta, Guto Innocente. So he holds several victories. Of course, in his last fight, however, he lost to Mark Hunt. This was back in June. It was in New Zealand. Lewis said I thought he was retiring, because during the interview after the fight with Mark Hunt where he lost, Derek Lewis was basically like, "I'm done. I'm hanging it up. I can't keep doing this," and it looked like it was a retirement. It looked like that was it. But then later in the month, he decided against it, and he decided, "I'm going to keep fighting." So now he's going to face Fabricio Verdum on October 7th at UFC 216. So this one is going to be entertaining. But if Derek Lewis loses this fight, does he actually retire for real? I don't know. There was supposed to be a fight between Paige Van Zandt and Jessica Ai, but Van Zandt had to pull out due to a back injury, hernia disc. She had several problems going on with her, so Van Zandt not competing, and Jessica Ai has been pulled from this card and is going to be rescheduled for another card. Instead, we got Mara Romero Borella and Kalindra Faria in this women's flyweight fight. We've also got Beneil Dariush and Evan Dunham in a lightweight bout for the main card. The preliminary card on FXX, we're going to see Bobby Green in action against Lando Venata. We got Cody Stamann and Tom Duquesnoy. We got Will Brooks and Nick Lentz. Of course, Will Brooks, the former Bellator champion. And then, of course, we got Pearl Gonzalez and Poliana Botello. On the Fight Pass prelims, we got Taze Ladies and Brad Tavares, and we got John Moraga in action against Magomed Babulative. Man, try saying that name 5 times fast. Walt Harris in action against Mark Godbeer, and Matt Schnell against Marco Beltran. So we got a pretty interesting card going on for UFC 216, but that's not all. We've got Bellator. Oh yes, the night before. Tonight, actually, we have Bellator MMA, Bellator 184. Main event, Eduardo Dantas is defending the Bantamweight Championship against Darian Caldwell. And of course, that seems to be like it's going to be a fun fight. So let's take a look at this main event. Of course, Eduardo Dantas, it feels like he's been around in Bellator for such a long time. He's got a 24 record. He's won 6 by the submission, 10 by decision, 4 by knockout. But it feels like really he has been around for a long time. He really has. He's been around since 2011 at Bellator 51. He actually fought Wilson Reyes in his Bellator debut. Since then, in Bellator, he has a record of, that's 4 wins before a loss, 2 wins before a loss, and 4 straight victories. So it's 10-2. He is 10-2 in Bellator. He has victories over Wilson Reyes, Alexis Vila, Marcos Galvo. And this is going to be his fourth time defending the Bantamweight Championship. This is actually his second reign as champion. He ended up losing the title to Joe Warren back in October 2014. So this is his second reign. He had 2 title defenses in his first reign before the loss, and now this is going to be his second title defense. Should have been his third, but in his last fight back in April, he fought against Leandro Higo. Leandro Higo ended up missing weight, which is, again, something you really don't want to do, especially when you have the chance to win a title. So this is going to be Dantas' second title defense in his second reign as Bellator Bantamweight champion. And, yeah, like I said, he's been around the game for a long time. At least it feels like a long time. And I'm sure he's going to find a way to either take it the distance and get the victory, or make Darian Caldwell tap out. It looks like that's what he's going to try to do, but Caldwell might try to do the same. I mean, Caldwell's a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and a former NCAA wrestler. He wrestled at North Carolina State. Oh, and I didn't know. I was just looking at his information now. I didn't know Caldwell was from Rahway, New Jersey. That's cool. Yeah, he's right by me. That's cool. Okay. Caldwell actually also only has 11 fights in MMA. He has 3 fights in Legacy FC, and he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fights in Bellator. His last fight was against Joe Temanglo. I don't know why I can't speak and pronounce the last name besides, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. But this was in December 2016, Bellator 167. He won that, and that was actually more of a revenge bout because Caldwell was 9-0 going into original fight with Joe Temanglo back in July of 2016 at Bellator 159, and Caldwell ended up getting submitted by Joe with a guillotine choke early on in the third round. So this was kind of a revenge fight. He got the win, and now it's all these months later, but Caldwell's going to get the title shot. So I wonder if there's any rust on him. And, like I said, he's only had 11 fights. He debuted in 2012, and he fought he fought 3 times last year, but hasn't had a fight since. He fought twice in 2015, both around the second half. Well, one was in May, so not closer to the second half, but not exactly in the second half. 2 fights in 2014 in May and October as well. So, I guess this is around his schedule, but, you have to wonder if the inexperience is going to catch up to Caldwell, and I think it will. I think maybe this one can go the distance, but I'm going to predict that Eduardo Dantas will walk out still your Bellator Bantamweight champion. And going on to the rest of this card, we got Daniel Strassen action against Emmanuel Sanchez, Pat Curran taking on John Teixeira, and Joe Temanglo is actually going to be in action against Leandro Higo. So you got the bantamweights and featherweights all over the main card of this Bellator 184. So let's hope this fight is actually better than Patricky Pitbull versus Benson Henderson. God, that was terrible. God, that was a terrible match. But that's going to do it for the MMA portion of this show. Let's take it now to, what do we want to take it to? You know what? Let's take it to boxing. But we're not going to start with the boxing of the hand variety. We're going to start with the boxing of the foot and hand variety. Of course, I'm referring to kickboxing and Glory 45, which took place this past Saturday on September the 30th. Took place in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. We had a nice main event between Robin van Roosmalen and Sergey Adamchuk, but this whole card was actually very good and very surprising. For starters, for those of you who didn't watch the Super Fight series, we actually had a doctor's stoppage. Jason Wilness was cut open, and in his bout against Yusri Belgaroui, and of course, Jason Wilness, for those of you who don't know, is a former Glory middleweight champion, and the Super Fight series is basically the prelims. Although sometimes they can have the Super Fight series afterwards if they're doing some sort of special or something like that. But basically, call it the prelims, because that's what it is most of the time. It's prelim bouts. Wilness is a former middleweight champion, and he got cut open, and 2:47 into the fight, they stop it. So the first round was just about to end. There was like 13 seconds left in that first round, and the doctor stops the fight, says Wilness can't continue, and Belgaroui gets I'd call an upset victory. So, but then we go on to the main card, and here's where things get interesting. So, they have a light heavyweight tournament. I'll get into that in a little. I'll get into one of the fighters in this light heavyweight tournament a little bit, but the second bout. I'm not going to get into the first bout right away because it has to relate to that. But for the second bout of this main card and of this tournament, one of the 2 semifinals, it's Manny Mancha and Ahmad Haddar. Haddar just dominates Mancha early in the first round, practically all the first round, and then here comes the second round. And I don't know. I don't know how to explain this, but something goes wrong. You can tell, like, during the punching, something goes wrong with one of Hadar's hands. And it turns out he injured his arm. He broke his hand. And that's the fight. So Mancha, despite getting dominated, probably getting knocked down in the first round and nearly getting knocked down in the second round, halfway into the second round, halfway into the fight, Mancha wins only because of injury. And remember, it's a semifinal, so he's going to fight again later that night. Not exactly something you want to happen, right? Well, you'll see. There was also a heavyweight bout between Hezdi Gurgis and Mladen Brstovac. And Gurgis was competing in his home country. He's a popular glory fighter. He's known for his low kicks to the legs, and then Brstovac is known for his high kicks, so sounds like a perfect matchup. Sounds like it's going to be a good fight. One that can end easily in a knockout, but one that can still go with long distance, right? No, it ends in 36 seconds. One head kick by Brstovac, and that's it. Gurgis' lights are out. 36 seconds. You wanna know what else was about 30 seconds long? The first fight. It was the first fight in the tournament, the light heavyweight tournament. It was between Michael Dute and Drago Subko. And Dute won by knockout in 36 seconds. Wasn't by a kick or anything, just punched him out. And then Dute fought Mancha later that night. And think about this. Dute, he won in 36 seconds. He's fresh. Mancha only advanced because of an injury. So, what do you think happened? I'm going to give you, let's say about 10 seconds to guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, if you answered that Dute knocked Mancha out in 12 seconds, you're right. I was thinking, okay, Dute knocked his guy out in 36 seconds. He's fighting a tired Mancha. How is Dute going to follow up that impressive performance with a 12-second? It took like a third of the time he finished Subko in to defeat Mancha. And then, again, in the main event, Robin van Roosmalen defended the Glory Featherweight Championship against Sergey Adamchuk, and Roosmalen, Adamchuk put up a decent fight. Interesting strategy of, like, cutting off the ring. But Roosmalen was the more active fighter. Adamchuk, late in, like, the 4th and 5th rounds, tried to get the better of Roosmalen, but at that point it was too little too late, so Roosmalen ended up retaining the title. So, it was actually a fun show. Those of you who haven't checked out Glory Kickboxing, I recommend you give it a chance. It's fun. It's definitely, it's a different experience than watching a normal boxing match or watching MMA. Kickboxing is a whole sport in and of itself, and you should give it a shot. Plus, they travel all around the world, so it's really cool. And actually, Bellator, for those of you who don't know, Bellator has its own kickboxing promotion. That would be Bellator Kickboxing, and they are actually going to air. What happened was, after Bellator 183 last week, or 2 weeks ago, they did a kickboxing show, and that's going to air on tape delay tonight, right after Bellator 184. So, I won't lie, the spoilers are out there on the internet, so I'm not going to recap each match, I'm not going to preview each match, I'm just going to say, this is what's going on, so you want to go and get spoiled? Go and get spoiled. If you want to watch it, watch it. I'm going to watch it. Well, practically I'm going to do both. But we have a Bellator Kickboxing Featherweight title match. The first, actually they're determining a first ever champion. It's Kevin Ross versus Domenico Lamurno, and the Bellator Kickboxing welterweight titles on the line. Karim Gachi's defending against Raymond Daniels. And then you got Joe Schilling in action, and a couple other fights. So, interesting card. Should be fun to watch tonight. But now let's get into the actual boxing. And we actually have a big fight coming up tonight. We got Anthony Crolla in action. Anthony Crolla and Rookie Burns are going to do battle. And it's going to be for the WBA lightweight title, or I might have to correct myself. Oh, no, there's no title on the line. I forgot. He actually lost the title. I forgot Crolla lost the title to Linares. That's right. And, of course, Linares, a couple of weeks ago, successfully defended that title against Luke Campbell. But yes, Anthony Crolla will do battle with Ricky Burns. For Crolla, this is kind of a bounce back fight. Crolla has lost 2 straight. He lost to Jorge Linares, losing the WBA lightweight title back in September of 2016. And Crolla also lost the rematch back in March. So this is going to be a chance for Crolla to get back in it. Eddie Hearn said this of the fight. He said, "What a fight between 2 great warriors. Both Anthony and Ricky are in similar places in their careers, and they know this is absolute must-win. Knowing these 2 guys, I feel it's going to be a fight until the finishing bell, neither taking a backward step. All British super fight, 2 great former champions." And yeah, it actually is a British super fight of sorts. 12-round fight in Manchester. As I said, Crolla, he's pretty much on a comeback trail, and he needs this win, but so does Ricky Burns a little bit. Ricky Burns had a shot at the WBA light welterweight title back in April against Julius Ndongo, and he lost by decision. And actually, it was about for the WBA light welterweight title, the IBF light welterweight title, the IBO light welterweight title. It was for everything. And of course now, Terence Crawford ended up defeating Julius Ndongo back in August, and Crawford is now the undisputed champion in that division. So for these 2 guys, who both have like 6 losses in their career, Ndongo hasn't been finished. Crolla was knocked out once. So Crolla has been knocked out once. He's been finished before once out of his, how many professional fights? He had 40 professional fights. Burns, this is going to be his 49th, and he hasn't been knocked out or finished, TKO'd, whatever you want to call it, since. So this one's going to be interesting, because I actually have to agree with Eddie Hearn. This is a must-win fight for both fighters, so who's willing to bring it? Who wants it more? I'll figure out that on tomorrow night. But yeah, so that's just going to be it. Little quick segment there on all the boxing that's going on. So let's take it to the world of professional wrestling. Okay, so who saw the big news that Triple H and NXT released? Because if you missed it, I'm going to give you 5 seconds to basically tune out and mute yourselves or whatnot. Maybe you can advance admit it in or something, so that way you won't be spoiled. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have chosen for me to reveal the news. Okay. NXT War Games in November. That's right. The War Games match, the one made famous by the NWA and WCW, is going to be back. And they're going to do it it's going to be interesting because they're WWE-izing it, I guess, would be the best way to describe it. It's going to be a triple threat tag team match. It's going to be the Sanity, the Authors of Pain, and the Undisputed Era, a.k.a. Team ROH, Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly. It should be interesting. I'm just going to try to figure out how the hell they're going to pull this off. I want to see them try to pull this off. Even if it is WWE-izing it, I want to see how they pull this off, and I have high hopes for it. It's going to be good in November. I can't wait. I've also seen the card for the whole NXT event itself. Again, I'm not going to reveal anything here, but as of yet, I'm going to give everybody like a week or so maybe to find out for themselves or watch NXT and find out. But basically, the card's looking pretty okay. And I mean, it's a perfect transition into Survivor Series. But, of course, Survivor Series isn't this weekend. This weekend is Hell in a Cell, presented by SmackDown. We'll get into that in a second. But first, I also want to mention Did anybody see what was going on with the freaking Young Bucks? So apparently the Young Bucks have been issued a cease and desist letter from WWE. About a week or so ago, the Young Bucks and a certain crew and Bullet Club invaded Monday Night Raw. They were actually outside the arena where Raw was, and reportedly Vince McMahon was not happy about it at all. It's kind of funny because it reminds me of in WWE, then WWF, during the Attitude Era, invaded a WCW arena. I think it was around spring or summer of '98. It was spring or summer of '98 when that happened. And apparently the Young Bucks have fired back now with new merch that pretty much eliminates all the Too Sweet references. And now it's cease and desist. You gotta love the Young Bucks and their little comedy, little schemes that they got going on. But apparently they could go to battle, the WWE and the Young Bucks, over the Too Sweet hand gesture. And that should be interesting. I mean, because it's like, I feel like the WWE has to have some sort of trademark because, you know, they own the NWO now because they bought out WCW. You see Gallows and Anderson doing it. You see the references to it made by Finn Balor and AJ Styles within the past year because, of course, old Bullet Club members. But I mean, that should be an interesting thing to see if WWE can pull off a win there. I mean, after all, Vince McMahon did say a couple of weeks ago in that Kevin Owens promo, he rarely ever loses a court battle. I mean, even the United States federal government failed to take Vince McMahon down in a court battle. So, that should be fun. And now, you know what? Let's just get right into Hell in a Cell, shall we? Hell in a Cell, once again, it's going to come to you this Sunday night on WWE Network. It is going to be, I believe, the first WWE event at the Little Caesars Arena, the new home of the Detroit Red Wings. So that should also be fun, and let's just get right into the match card, shall we? Do we want to start with I guess we'll start with the pre-show. Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin against the Hype Bros. It's good to see Shelton Benjamin back on WWE TV. I feel like I might have said that last week or 2 weeks ago, but it just is worth repeating. Good to see him back. Didn't think it could possibly happen, but he is back. Very happy about that. And it's good to see that he's teamed with Chad Gable. Again, as I said last week, between the Jason Jordan and Chad Gable, it's like if I have to pick somebody to watch right now, it's Chad Gable, surprisingly, because as much as he went with another tag team partner in Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin, even though they don't have much of a storyline going on, I mean, I guess you can talk about the Hype Bros and Zack Ryder thing. It's better than watching Jason Jordan. I like Jason Jordan's wrestling, but the storyline and his lack of mic skills bring me down a little. As I said, Hype Bros, they're emphasizing Hype Bros' losing streak, and Zack Ryder's getting pissed. Mojo Rawley's pissed too, but Zack Ryder's just pissed in general. But basically, this is now a pre-show match, and I think it's obvious Gable and Benjamin win. But the question is, does Ryder turn heel? I mean, they could also have Ryder and Hype Bros win and play dirty or something, but I'm not sure. I'm going to stick with my gun. I'm going to stick with the safe route. I'm going to go Gable and Benjamin because, I mean, that's just kind of thing. Just stick with the safe route. I don't want to be too risky with this because I'm expecting a good show, but I'm not expecting anything, over the top surprising that it's going to be like, oh, shit. But looking at the rest of the card, I mean, let's start with Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler. I mean, I love the fact that Bobby Roode is on SmackDown. I like it that he's going to be playing the next big babyface. He's going to be playing the next big babyface of SmackDown, and of course he's in a feud with Dolph Ziggler for his first feud. And I mean, why the hell not? Because Shinsuke Nakamura's first feud was with Dolph Ziggler, so I guess you can say it's Dolph Ziggler putting over another talent, another NXT call-up. Poor Dolph. I loved you, Dolph. I've loved you for a long time, but, sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset. I mean, Dolph, I think he's approaching 10 years in WWE now. I think actually, that's just counting Dolph Ziggler. If you're counting Nick Nemeth, then Nikki of the Spirit Squad, I mean, my God, he's been around the block for a while now. It's funny to think of it like that. I can't really believe that it's been that long, but he's in the part of his career now where basically he's starting to put over the younger talent. Feels like yesterday when he was the younger talent. Randy Orton and Rusev haven't really been. I mean, it was fine going into SummerSlam. I guess it was like a one-off thing, but I expected after SummerSlam Rusev was going to move on to something and Orton was going to move on to something, but for whatever reason, no. They've decided to continue on with this feud, and they had Rusev beat Orton in a matter of a few seconds, and then Rusev had this whole Rusev Day thing, and it's like I really didn't like the skit that much, but I gotta admit, I liked Aiden English and his singing of It's Rusev Day, and as it was tweeted out, I forget who tweeted out, but someone was like, I want that on my iPod. I'm like, sure. I mean, Aiden English has got a hell of a voice, and he sort of made it work. Like, for the role that he has now, he sort of made the drama character work, which was, I wasn't concerned when Silent Gotch got released, because maybe they're kind of jobbers anyway, so it wouldn't be too much of a step up. It could be just an opportunity for English, and you know what? It's good to see that he has the old NXT gimmick back that he originally had with, the Drama King and singing and everything. It's good to see. So, there's that. And then we have Natalya and Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And I gotta look at something because supposedly Natalya, there's this website, there's this article out. I think it's a Detroit. Yeah, it's a Detroit. It's a Michigan online site. And they said apparently, let's see. We're going to be making history. This is a quote from Natalya to that Michigan online site. It says, this Sunday we're going to be making history by being the first women in WWE to competing for 4 different championships. We've competed for the NXT Women's Championship, the Divas Championship, the Raw Women's Championship, and now the SmackDown Women's Live Women's Championship. Really? Wow. Holy crap. She's right. I was just thinking of the matches in my head, right? She's right. They did it. They did the NXT Women's Championship. They had a match for it in 14. I want to say the Divas Championship was 15. The Raw Women's Championship was last year, a little after WrestleMania 32. And now they're going to be competing for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. And at Hell in a Cell, Natalya is also going to beat Trish Stratus' record for most pay-per-view matches of any woman in WWE history. I didn't realize there was such a historic connotation to this match. I mean, we're talking about history in the feud with, the daughter of Ric Flair versus the daughter of Jim Neidhart and niece of Bret Hitman Hart. But still, I never realized the connotation of oh my God, this is history making. This is actually history making. Has WWE even played this up on television? I haven't noticed. They need to play that up more. That's actually... Because it's I get it. They've done it before. But it's these are special circumstances that I feel should require attention. So there's that. So I'm actually very interested in that match right now. They've won me over. I know women's revolution, but still, no, they've won me over. I want to see that match now for the historic connotation of it. The historic, history is going to be made. It's like what I said about the Demetrius Johnson-Ray Borg fight for the UFC's pay-per-view this coming weekend. History is going to be made one way or another. Well, in this match, history will be made. Speaking of history, let's talk about AJ Styles, a man who will go down in professional wrestling history, period, regardless of WWE, TNA, etc. And he's going to be defending the United States Championship against Baron Corbin. this has been kind of interesting. It's like, I was shocked this past Tuesday when Ty Dillinger got the win over Baron Corbin. I'm like, all right, so now they're going to put Corbin over and they're going to get him ready for Style. What? That was basically my reaction. I'm like, wow. So either they're getting ready to give Corbin a hard fall, or something's going to happen with Corbin where either he wins the title in shocking fashion, or he destroys Styles but doesn't win the title, or loses the match but then destroys Styles. Something's going on there. Something's in the air. Something is in the air. Man, I want to see what happens, but I mean, I was really hoping maybe they can give a little more push for Ty. I mean, he's gotten some push out of it, Ty Dillinger has, but maybe a little more could have been better. You know, maybe just because I like Ty Dillinger, but you know, I'm still looking forward to AJ Styles with Baron Corbin. I feel like they can put on a hell of a show. That's actually going to be a good match to watch too. Potential sleeper. For those of you who are too busy looking at the 2 Hell in Cells, you might miss this one. And then the WWE Championship match. What can I say? What can I really say about this match? Is there anything I really want to say? I'm going to say I want Nakamura to win. Not just because, you know, if Jinder... It's going to be like one of these things where it's like, you know, I'm not a fan of Jinder Mahal as champion, and I hear all this... I hear everybody coming out, well, if you don't want Jinder Mahal to be a champion and he wins in dirty fashion, then, you know, he's doing his job as a heel. No. Because if he was doing his job as a heel, I'd be filled of rage, but I'd be like, you know what? I see his point. You know, and it's like, I don't get it. Between the hypocrisy over this racial stuff, and why do we have racist promos anyways with this, how he was making fun of Nakamura's accent and the Japanese and everything. It's like, with all that is going on in this world, why do we need this? We don't. And for the Mahal, as I was saying, it's like with... Where I was going at, it's like with Emma and her little Twitter gimmick. It's like, every time they're going to do a promo, I have to fucking mute the TV. If they wrestle, maybe I can watch it. But if they're just going to do promo, I have to fucking mute the TV. I can't anymore. Mahal has absolutely bored me as WWE Champion. Absolutely boring. When the WWE Championship match is the popcorn match and it's given like popcorn match treatment at SummerSlam, you know something's wrong with the champion. That or you just don't care for the fight. So, I mean, that's sad. So, I'm begging you. Nakamura, please win. Please win on Sunday. Just get that fucking belt off of Mahal one way or another, please. And then we got the Hell in a Cell. The 2 Hell in a Cells versus New Day versus the Usos, which I think is going to be hella awesome because I was there for SummerSlam, so I got to see their pre-show match on that card live, and I mean, it was pretty much one of the matches of the night, and I feel like I can't wait. I can't wait, man. I can't wait. Their match, like I said, at SummerSlam was great. The match at Battleground was fantastic. Their Sin City Street fight was awesome. I'm ready. I'm ready for Hell in a Cell. It's going to be the first tag team Hell in a Cell since 2009, I think, when DX and Legacy had their little match. I can't wait. I want to see that. And, of course, the main event, Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens. That better be the fucking main event, not Jinder Mahal versus Shinsuke Nakamura. But I'm not too worried. I think it's going to be McMahon versus Owens. That has been the dominant feud of SmackDown. And, you know, fuck it, man. I'm ready. I'm ready for that. I sense McMahon's going to do something crazy, or they're gonna do something crazy with Shane because it's fucking Shane. I just don't know what they're going to do because he dropped an elbow from the roof to the announce table last time when he faced The Undertaker in Hell in a Cell. So I don't know what the hell they're going to do, but either way, I'm ready. Looks like it's going to be a fun card, and I can't wait for Sunday, Hell in a Cell. And that's pretty much going to wrap things up. Go like our Facebook, Twitter, and Periscope page. Go follow us on all 3 of those social media platforms at Combat Mania UD. Don't forget to follow my other podcast here on the Undetermined Podcast Network, sports talk podcast known as the Unspoken Podcast at the UDUP on Facebook, Twitter, and Periscope. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Thomas J. Albano. And go like and follow all the rest of the Undetermined Network accounts. And that does it for me. I'm Tom Albano, and you've been listening to Combat Mania, a cheap seat sports production part of the Undetermined Podcast Network. We'll see you next week on episode 5. Until then, take care.